Imagine this. You work for somebody for 5 to 10 years. You know the trade very well. You can build, right? You go out, you get a contractor's license. You're now legal to contract work. Most common asked question is, Matt, where am I supposed to find work and how do I bid that work? This video series is sponsored by Houzz Pro, one of our amazing channel sponsors, an all-in-one construction management software that's going to help you run your business better. With that being said, let's get right into it. Talk about how to bid, where do you find this work at, and much more. New construction building can be tough because oftentimes builders have the same subcontractors project after project after project. So how do you get in with them? Today we're going to be using rough framing as an example because that is my line of work. So how do we get this work? Where do we look for it? And then we'll talk about how to bid it. My best advice, and I've shared it with literally every new contractor I've ever ran into, cold call everybody. Pick up your phone, find who you want to do work for. If you have a custom builder in town that's doing awesome work, call them up. Tell them what you offer. Tell them the standards you hold, the quality that you've got, and what you have to offer as a contractor. Don't sell yourself too much on I'm the cheapest, I'm the fastest, I'm the best. That never goes far. Tell them you're a quality contractor that wants to do work with other people in the area that want to build better. That alone can get your foot in the door. Aside from that, just be a social person. If you have a contractor's event where they're showing off tools or they're showing off a fire-rated product at a lumberyard, show up. Have everybody in company gear. By year 3 or 4, you should have a pretty good reputation in your area. But is that enough to sell yourself? Not exactly. You need to be competitive. You need to be able to be within the price range that the contractor is looking for. So let's go through a few things when it comes to that. So once you've done some networking and you find some people, they've got some projects lined up, everybody has a budget, and that's a conversation most people don't want to have. So my best advice is when you first step into a conversation about a new project, simply ask what their budget is. I'll tell you this much, they don't have a $4 million project lined up with permits already pulled to not have a budget lined out on what their framing should cost. So start the conversation off. Sometimes it can be awkward. Some people don't want to talk about it. Some people are going to tell you, just bid it and we'll see how it goes. And that's okay. We'll get into that and how to come up with a number in just a sec. But get the awkward question out of the way first, because I've done a lot of deals where I simply ask, what's your budget? And if I can find a number that works for you as the builder and for me as the subcontractor, so I'm making money, you're getting it done within budget, and we're both happy. It's a win-win. But with that being said, you also have to know where your market's at. You have to know what the cost of production framing costs versus the cost of high-end framing and in between. So getting your foot in the door. Cold call everybody, network like crazy, put yourself out there as much as possible. You don't need to run a bunch of Facebook ads, you don't need to be big on social, you just need to put yourself out there. Talk and introduce yourself to anybody and everybody, make friends, a couple years in, you'll be good to go. So now let's talk about the actual bidding itself. Say you have a contractor that doesn't want to just give you the number on where they want you to be. They want you to bid the project. That's okay, that's how some people are going to be, and especially when they don't know you. As I mentioned, one of our channel sponsors is Houzz Pro, the sponsor of this video series on how to properly bid projects. We're going to be going through all sorts of things from framing, siding, and much more. I'll break down my process on how I bid projects and go as in-depth as we possibly can. This video series is sponsored 100% by Houzz Pro, an all-in-one construction software that helps you run business. Just today I had a subcontractor write me up a proposal on paper and send me a picture of it to where I could see his price, and that works, that's great, but there is such an easier way to do this. We are in 2022 and nearly everything can be done right from your phone. Houzz Pro allows you to have everything right here at your fingertips. My favorite part about Houzz Pro is probably the invoicing and the estimating. When we first got going in business, I was trying to figure out how to format a Word doc to where it looked good. No matter how I did it, it never looked the same as the last one. So when we had a repeat client, their contract and their proposal from project number 1 looked different than project number 2. With Houzz Pro, the formatting is already done for you. You just fill in the blanks, change everything around to fit your business, and it looks awesome every single time. Quick example of what a proposal looks like without using Houzz Pro is right up over here, and right up over here you can see what it looks like formatted with Houzz Pro. Looks a lot better, right? It does. We've got the plans, they're uploaded on Houzz. Here's what we're going to do. The first thing you need to do, the very first thing when bidding new construction rough framing, is go to your project statistics on the site plan. This is the first page of your plans. Now, look under the project statistics, it'll tell you the lot size. This lot size is 165,000 square feet. This is a big development. Lot number 2 and 28. This is a flipped floor plan for 2 separate builds. You can see the building height is 20'9" above average grade. You can see that the lower floor area is 543 square feet, upper floor is 479, and the garage is 262. So let's pull up our calculator here. We have 543 plus 479 plus 262. We also have 120 square feet for the covered porch. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So we have 1284 on this unit alone. That includes the garage, the first floor, and the second floor. What do we do with that number? The first thing we're going to do is take note of 1284 square feet with 120 square feet of covered porch. Now we're going to go into, is it single level, multi-level? And you can see right there, number of stories is 2. So it is multi-level, we have a 2-story build. That tells you that you have a floor system to frame out as well. That takes quite a bit of time, adds to it. It's quicker to build, say, a 1,200 square foot single level than it is to build 1,200 square foot with 2 stories. You have connections from bottom to top. You have a floor system, you're sheeting that. It does add time. Here on the site plan as well, we could see cottage C2 and cottage C28. This and this are identical, just flip-flopped, so we do have 2 of these. We're only going to be talking about the one today though. So here we are on the actual floor plan, lower and upper for this build. This is the architectural, so it's not going to show us what we have for structural members, posts, or beams, but it is going to show us what the layout of the house is. We're going to take a quick glance at this. We've got the garage over here. Cute little thing, living room, kitchen, dining. There is not a whole lot to it. We have this small bathroom and then the wall to separate the stairs and a small little wing wall to end off that kitchen. Over here on the upper floor plan, you can see the stairs come up. We have got bedroom here, bedroom here, and that is about it. There's not much to it. So we've got a couple interior walls up here, closet walls. So based on looking at what we've got here, as far as the floor plans, upper and lower, nothing stands out to me that's going to be too crazy. We know the square footage of the bottom, we know the square footage of the top, and the garage included. We know that there's not a whole lot that's going to go into this place, so as far as framing goes, production should be pretty fast. So in order to bid projects and bid them accurately, you have to know what you're looking at. You have to be able to see a set of plans and say, this is how it's going to go together, this is how long it's going to take us, and it might take you a while. It might take you a couple times of completely butchering your number and figuring out, okay, when we have a floor system that's built out this way, it's going to take us a bit longer. So you can see this arrow indicates that from side to side all the way through, we have the same floor system, which is number 6 right there. We come over here, we have 14-inch TJI 210s at 16 on center. So we know that this floor system is very easy all the way across. That continues all the way out to here. And then out here, this is actually showing the roof system for that covered patio area. We have a 6x10, we have a 6x10 ridge, 6x10 on the ends there. That'll just stack out. We look at number 9 right there. Number 9 is a 4x6 Doug fir. Number 2 for the porch rafters at 24 on center. So that's a little hand cut section, super easy. What do we have here? We have number 7. Number 7 is pre-engineered roof trusses at 24 on center. So that tells us that on top of the garage, that is going to be finished. We don't have a floor system there, we have a roof system. And just this little section here is going up 2 stories. So we can bounce back to our floor plan and we could see that's exactly how it is. That just stacks up. And then the garage is actually off here to the left. So the only thing going up is just this tiny little floor system here and then the roof above it. We know that there is not a whole lot of detail when it comes to the floor system, and the roof system is engineered trusses, so there's not much there either. This is the upper, showing the roof plan from above. We have got trusses stacking out this way, trusses stacking this way. The ridge is indicated here and here. This will be California fill, so we'll frame this in ourselves right there. Here in California, I have a lot of connections from bottom to top, so I will have to take into account those. We have our typical shear walls, we've got our typical nailing. Once we look at the floor plan, we see what's going into the floor system and the roof system. I like to go through a couple of the structural details, such as these two here. We have got the connection at the gable end. This is a very typical detail for us, just a 45-degree brace. Sometimes these are called for 48 on center. Like right here, this connection is required at 48 on center along the length of the gable end wall. Minimum 2 connections per length of wall. Continuous 2x blocking up top, which is something we do anyways. And then we've got A34s with little 1.5" structural screws connecting the top. Down at the bottom we have A34 with 1.5" screws as well. One thing I do like to make sure we check is the soffit details. Sometimes we'll do a box soffit where we do have to tie back into the wall, and that does add quite a bit of time. Or sometimes we're doing a sub fascia where we are installing a fascia board here, so we can get a solid connection for a lid here. That can add time as well. So looking into things like that, you can see here we have got the truss tail coming out with just a 2x8 fascia here. When you bid your first project, I want you guys to ask yourself the same exact questions I'm asking myself here. What is your square footage? Is it single level or multi? Are you cutting the roof yourself using 2x8 or 2x10 rafters, or do you have manufactured trusses? Do you have access with a reach lift? And is this project high-end, production, or somewhere in between? These questions right here are going to save you and help you bid properly. Here's the reason why I say you need to ask yourself these questions, because I've built homes in this area for a long time. I've built a lot of different places, from small little houses to bigger commercial to multi-million-dollar homes. And it has ranged from $10 a foot on the very low production end of things all the way up to $35, $45 a foot. How I base that price is based right on these questions here. So get yourself out a notebook, write down these questions, and the next house you bid, document all of it. Write it down, figure out how long it's going to take, document everything the same way that we've done here, and ask yourself these questions. If you want these questions, they are in the description down below. You can copy and paste them to your computer and ask yourself the next time you bid. But let's finish out these questions. I have got the first 3 taken care of. Access. Do we have access for a reach lift? Why is this important? I can have 3 guys on site with a reach lift and get every wall built, sheared on the ground, and stood. If I don't have a reach lift, I can't necessarily shear every wall without having some sort of difficulties. We own the reach lift that we use, so it's not that much of an added cost. Can we bring it there and utilize it? Yes or no? This lot is 165,000 square feet, but if you were curious on whether you could or not, you can go to your site plan, and this building here and this building here, you can see that we have 24 feet in between the two of them, so I can hit from right here, this whole entire unit, and from right here, this whole entire unit. Do we have access? Yes, we do. So what does that mean? That's going to speed up our production. That is going to allow me to have fewer guys on site and ultimately make the project to go a little bit smoother. All material will get moved with a reach lift rather than packing sheets from one end of the job to the other. That's a win. Now, is this high-end or is this production? That doesn't change the quality of work that we're doing, but it does change the price. If it's production framing, the production framing pays less. If it's high-end framing, where we're worried about every single thing, it's higher. This project specifically is a 28 unit build. This is straight production. And with that, we're going to ask ourselves about the wall height. So whether it's production framing or high-end, we're going to want to figure out what we have for walls. Now, we don't have much to go off of to figure out that wall height, but we do have this down here, 9 foot. So these walls down below will be 9 foot. And we know we have that little 14-inch floor system. And from there, we've got scaling out to be around 8 foot up top. There are a couple of roof sections like this one here that wrap all the way around. We will have to account for that because that is going to take up some extra time. Let's start breaking down the number that we've got here. So, wall heights, 9 foot lower, 8 foot upper. Production, we know exactly what we need in order to bid now. One of the easiest ways I have figured to add in that covered porch, like I said we would get to that, we have just got this little section here. There is a beam running out, a ridge beam coming out, some hand-cut rafters in there, and then a little post set on some hardware. I'm assuming safely that I could have 2 of our carpenters build that out, sheet it, everything's done in less than a day, 8 hours. So we've got 120 square feet for that covered porch. I know for a fact that our guys can build it very quick, couple hours to 8 hours depending on how many I've got on it. We're going to divide that by 2, and that's how we're going to charge for it. So instead of charging for 120 square feet at X amount, we're going to charge for 60 square feet, and we're just going to add it on to the overall framing square footage. So we're going to take 120 square feet, we're going to divide that by 2, and we're going to add that to 1284. We now have 1344. In framing, there are a lot of different tiers. You have lower end where you're building bottom dollar homes for bottom dollar pricing, and then you have higher end. You're not going to be bidding a 10,000 square foot home at $5, $10 a foot. It's going to be more like 20, 30, or 40. That is just for labor only, by the way. Material is a whole different ballgame. What's the main difference between a little patio cover or a porch and the rest of the conditioned living space? The living space, you have walls underneath it, you're fastening that to the concrete, you have shear panel, you have the roof sheathing, and more. With the patio cover, you have 2 posts, a couple beams, and some rafters. It's pretty straightforward. So for most instances, what we're doing is taking the overall covered porch area, in this case 120 square feet, cute little thing, and dividing it by 2. You should be able to build out 120 square feet of covered porch faster than you could build 120 square feet of conditioned space. So we'll take that 120, divide it by 2, and add that to our 1284. We are now going to be bidding on 1,344 square feet. Now let's get to our example on pricing. Here in Central California, we have around a $10 spread from low end to high end, and this can get even bigger depending on the project. Low end, we're going to be saying $10. High end, we're going to be saying $20. And in between, if it's kind of like a semi-custom home, we're right around $15. Now on the lower end of that scale, the $10 range, we are building a production home. The deadline for that project is more important than the quality of that project. It's just how it goes. On the higher end, $20 or even up to $30, we're worried more about the quality of the home than, say, the timeline. And if you're in between around $15 a foot, you need to be worried about both. It needs to be clean enough to where everybody's happy, but it needs to get done quick enough to where you stay on schedule. So for this little project that we're looking at here, I know that I have full access with a reach lift. I know that I have got 1,344 square feet to bid. I have 2 stories, so I have to build the floor system. 9-foot walls down below, 8-foot walls up top. Everything is pretty straightforward. There's nothing that stood out to me that says that's going to take a while. Now here's where experience plays a part in bidding new construction projects. Let's say we wanted to bid this on the lower end. We wanted to be competitive. $10 a foot's where we want to be. That is $13,440 for this little project. That's just labor. In business, you have what we call a CODB, a cost of doing business. How much does it cost you to run? If I had 4 guys out there, it would cost me right around $6,500 per week, per 5 days, 40 hours. So we're going to write that down. $6,500, 40 hours, 4 guys. Reach lift is going to cost me $500 to get up there, plus $125 in fuel for the week. So right off the bat, if it took us 5 days to build the thing, we're at $6,500 plus $625. We're at $7,125. That tells me that with 4 guys and the reach lift, we could go over a couple days if we needed to. If it took a day or 2 longer to build the thing, we could still make profit. So there we have $7,125. We have got a budget of $13,440 to build the thing. So let's see how much is left over. If we have $13,440 and we subtract what we're going to spend and the 4 guys plus the reach lift, we have $6,315 left over. Now, how much does it take for your business to run? Not how much does it take for those 4 guys, but how much for your licensing, your insurance, and everything else. For us, that's right around $1,500 a week. So we'll subtract that from it as well. We're left with $4,815 left over. If we can get this done in 5 days, there's a chance at around $5,000 in profit. If it takes another day or 2 longer, we're getting closer to break even. That's not looking too good. But knowing how much it's going to cost our guys to build this thing helps a lot when it comes to bidding. I have around $5,000 profit I could make on each one of these little units. There's quite a few of them. I think that we can stick to that lower price of around $10 a foot and make it work. Like I said though, these numbers are not accurate, so don't just take these numbers and run with it. Now that is how we're going to price out these projects. We're going to take the square footage, multiply it by whatever range we're in, whether it be track homes, semi-custom, or full-blown custom homes. That's going to give us a good base to work off of. Now say these numbers didn't work out whatsoever, and we were completely upside down, knowing that it took 5 days, we're still not going to make any profit. You know you need to bump your prices up. Never take a project if the numbers do not work. So with the numbers that we've got here, I know that there's a chance at 5,000 profit per unit. If we get it done in 4 days, even better. This is a very small house as well that we used here as an example, so to make $5,000 profit in 1 week isn't all that bad. If we were to take that $48.15 that we would make off this one little project in a week and multiplied it by 52 weeks in a year, you'd be looking at $250,000 profit. It's not too bad for a small company. But that is how we are looking at projects. That's how we're breaking things down. We're looking at the wall heights. We're looking at the overall structure of the home. How complicated is it? Are we hand cutting? Are we stacking out trusses? Look at those soffit details. Double check everything. And in your area, I guarantee it, there is a good spread from low-end track homes to high-end customs. You need to figure out what that is for yourself. Out here in California, I'll be completely honest, that number ranges from around $10 a foot on the very low end of production, all the way up to, say, $35 a foot for high-end custom. And that is just on labor. Once you get into wanting to add material to it, what you're going to do is take the overall material and add around 15% to it. You'll do the same thing for trusses as well. So if the trusses are $50,000, you're going to add 15% to it. So your truss package is $50,000, but you're going to charge $57,500. That adds a buffer for dealing with it yourself, and in the case that anything is wrong. So what are we going to bid this little guy for? $13,440. I think we can get it done at $10 a foot. I think it could make a little bit of money. I think there's multiples on site, so we can roll from one into the next, and that keeps our pricing fairly competitive. If there was only one unit, that was it, we would be charging more, somewhere 12 to 15. Why? Because we're moving everything there, we're mobilizing, and we're only going to be building the one. With multiple projects set up on one site, we can kind of bounce around and keep production at an all-time high. So I wanted to show you guys what the estimating looked like on Houzz Pro because it is an amazing way to step up your game in business and look more professional. So check this out. We have got all of our line items here. You can add as many as you want to, and as you use the software, you will have everything already programmed in there, so all you have to do is select it. The quantity is 1,344 square feet. You have got your material here, you have your labor here. Just making it easy for the example, we're $10 a foot on both of them. Now we talked about wanting to mark up that material cost. You never want to give material straight. The reason for that is if anything goes south, you need a cushion. So on $10 a foot, if that's what it worked out to, you would want to be $11.50. Add in that 15% cost increase, that markup, to where if you miss a handful of studs or a couple of sheets, you can cover that still. So now we have everything that we want included here. You can add a markup to the whole project, but we don't want to mark up that labor. With production framing, typically pricing is fairly strict. You're not adding a 15% markup on top of your already priced out framing. So we have terms and conditions down here. This is where you could add in anything you wanted to, such as you are only responsible for cleaning up of rough framing. You're not responsible for other trades. You can also add in here that you plan on shimming and shaving the building prior to drywall going up, or that your tolerance is within 1/4 inch per 9 feet, things like that. That's where you'd want to put in terms and conditions, along with anything else that you want, to where everything works out as it should. You can put in there a clause about wanting to get paid within 30 days, having a net 30. Just a few examples of what we're including in terms and conditions. We furnish all of our own safety equipment needed to complete the project, scaffolding, harnesses, lanyards, etc. We clean up all of our construction debris. We haul everything away. We can get C&D receipts for Title 24. If you're not familiar with that, completely ignore that. All the inspections we call for ourselves, and we are present the whole entire time. And lastly, we have volatile market swings. This is something that I think every single contractor that has ever done business from here on out should include in their contracts. This is to protect yourself in the case that material prices go right back up again. We dealt with massive increases on contracts that were already in place where this clause was not put. The goal with this clause is to make it so that you get a material price at the beginning of the project. Say it's 10 grand. If by the time you break ground and start building, that material cost is now $20,000, anything over 3%, 3% on 10,000 would be 300. Anything over 3% would be covered by the owner or the builder. It's not our fault that material prices went through the roof, but in the last couple years it's happened quite a bit. These terms and conditions can be found in the description down below if you wanted to check them out. And the best part is, down at the bottom, similar to DocuSign, Houzz Pro has the ability to have your client sign right then and there. You can also set up payments here if you wanted to. We're going to hit preview and share, and we are going to export this as a PDF. So in just a few minutes, we put together a decent looking proposal that we can present to the client and hopefully have them sign so we can complete the work. We have got our terms and conditions down there at the bottom. If you're doing more than just one thing, if you have siding included or you want to set site mobilization in there, you can do that as well. And down at the bottom here, you can have them sign. Obviously, once you stack a few things, this gets longer and longer, but formatting is there. Everything is quick and easy to use. It looks professional, and you can send that off to the client knowing that it doesn't look like a child wrote it. That's how you're going to be bidding new construction projects. How much do your guys cost a week? How much can they build in a week? How big is the project you're bidding? Multi-level, single level, complicated, not complicated? All of these things play a role in how much your project is going to cost. Once you've done this for a while, you're going to know, yeah, that's $13 a foot. That's $17 a foot. That needs to be closer to $25. And you'll figure those things out over time. You're going to have times where you think, man, I should have charged more for this, or I could have charged less for this. Whatever it may be, I hope you guys learned something from today's video. There is a lot of information in here. If you need to, go back and watch it again. If you're friends with somebody that's just getting going, please share this video with them. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, thumbs up, subscribe buttons down below. If you want to join our monthly class where we talk about things like this more in depth and case by case, hit the join button by subscribe. If you can't find it, links in the pinned comment. And thank you to Houzz Pro for sponsoring today's video and letting us go in depth on how to bid properly. Something a lot of people aren't talking about. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop them in the comments. If you have a project that you're bidding on that you're maybe needing a little bit of help on, drop some info down there as well. I'll see what I can do to help you out. But my name is Matt Pinella with MattBangsWood. I'll see you next time. Bang on.